Well, good night and welcome to another edition of the Sanctuary Half Hour. I am Judah, and shortly I will be joined by special guests. However, I want to let you know what we're talking about tonight. Before we do that, go ahead and share that link. Tell somebody that the Sanctuary Half Hour has begun. Yes, it has. We have started, and we want you to share the link with somebody. Send a message into the chat. Let people know to tune in because the Sanctuary Half Hour is live. So tonight's theme is the love triangle, and I'm going to tell you more about what that is really about as we are dwelling on this theme tonight with some special guests that will be joining. Now, before we do all of that, though, I do want us to start with a word of prayer. So let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we come humbly before you tonight, God, and ask that you would have your way in tonight's session, Lord. May we learn, may we glean from each other, and chiefly from your Holy Spirit as you teach us all about what you intend for and through this love triangle that we're getting into tonight. We pray that you would bless the guests, Lord, and that you would also bless the listeners and those who would learn and engage with us on this journey. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So, yes, tonight's theme is the love triangle. And as you should know, a triangle has 3 points, 3 lines. And so, our love triangle involves 3 lines of love that together make sacrifices that contribute to harmony and successful living. So, harmony, 3 lines, successful living, contributing to each other. That's what we're talking about in a particular context, in the context of school. And I do also have to let you know that tonight's Sanctuary Half Hour is brought to you by the Life Empowerment Ministry. So let's remember that. So tonight we're going to be talking to a teacher, a parent, and a teacher's child to glean from those 3 perspectives and see how those 3 lines do interconnect. So to join this conversation with me tonight, I first have the teacher, Miss Ingrid Armstrong-Worrell. She's joining me shortly. Good night, Ingrid.
Great to be here.
Great to have you. Now, as I said, Ingrid will be representing the teacher's perspective of tonight's conversation. And we also need the parent. Being the parent in tonight's discussion is Teresa. Good night, Teresa.
Night.
Hi, Teresa. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
All right, awesome, awesome. And then finally, a teacher's child. And now we have lots of young and engaging young people in our midst at Sanctuary. Anastasia being one of them. So we want to welcome her on now. Good night, Anastasia.
Good night.
Hi there. How are you, Anastasia? All right, I'm sure we'll be able to hear her in a moment. But we are definitely going to get into our conversation now. So we're really looking at the loving sacrifices made by the 3 lines, as we said, the teacher, the parent, and of course the teacher's student. So the teacher's child, actually. So to facilitate that, I'm going to ask you guys some questions, and I want you to feel free to engage, to give your views, and to share your honest perspective because that's what we want to glean from tonight. Firstly, let's talk to Ingrid from the teacher's perspective. So, Ingrid, help us to understand. As a teacher, what are some of the things that you do that people might not be aware of?
What are the life of a teacher is one of intense preparation. In
Right.
order to deliver our lessons, we must plan ahead. So that planning can't take place while the children are in front of us. That planning has to
Mhm.
take place on the weekend. It has to take place after 3. And when I, for instance, have a common entrance class. So
Right.
that's actually a little bit more work than because not only is there preparation, but there's a lot of correcting to do, and
Hmm.
it's a full day's work and then some. So one set of work ends at 3,
Hmm.
after 3, another set of work begins.
Yes, I think that is very interesting because a lot of what goes on, let me say, as a teacher myself, I can also join with you and understand that is a lot of preparation that the general public would not see. As you said, sometimes people say, oh, a teacher goes to work from 9 to 2 or whatever, and then that's it. But as you rightfully said, that is not it. Oftentimes, that's where, as you said, another set of work begins. So I'm hoping that as our viewers and listeners are hearing what you are sharing, what each of our discussion members are saying, that we are really able to have a new perspective, even as it relates to those sacrifices. So Ingrid has just let us know that time is one of those sacrifices, and effort is one of those sacrifices that that most people who are not in the teaching field would need to be aware of, and that should prompt some compassion for the teachers. Wouldn't you agree, Ingrid?
I hope so. I certainly hope so.
I agree with you there. All right. So our next question for you, Ingrid, is given that it is so challenging, given that you have to put in so much effort, and even after your working hours, so you're not necessarily being compensated for this effort that you're putting in that is necessary outside of your work time. What then motivates or propels you in your teaching field?
I always wanted to be a teacher, and I have been a teacher for a good 25 years now. I have a love of teaching, a love of molding young minds. And the
Mm,
truth is, the advantage of being a teacher is that I get to laugh every day.
wow.
And I try to develop all the children who are in my care because those are future citizens. From time to time, I will say to someone, when I get old, I might need your help. So you have to do this well so that you can grow up to be the best that you can.
Right. And I love the fact that you have made it a matter of your heart
Oh,
for
yes.
the children. And you hear people talking about the teachers that they favor. They think, Miss Armstrong Walker is a really good teacher. Oftentimes their reasoning behind that has something to do with how you've made them feel,
Yeah.
how they feel under your care. So that's a really good point, the fact that even in your work, you seek to love by
Oh, yeah.
being intentional about how you carry out. So it's not just a 9 to 2 job for you,
No,
that is it.
definitely not.
Right.
I will
All
not even
right.
talk about the things I do additionally. Let us just say I do it for the love of our
Mm,
nation's children.
there we go. That's that sacrifice that's coming out there. All right. So one final question so far for you, Ingrid. Then I'm assuming you have children, right?
I do. I have two daughters.
Okay, good. So this is a great question for you. So then in the case of your own children, you being a teacher, do they feel left out in any way because of how involved you have to be in your teaching practice on behalf of other students, other children?
I have to confess, there are times when my two daughters have been left out, or my second daughter, for instance, would have attended a different primary school than the one that I work at.
Okay.
And I left her instruction to her teachers because even though mommy is a teacher, she didn't believe mommy knew what was going on. And it
Okay.
was easier to let her class teacher embrace her and keep a close eye on what was going on rather than having arguments with her all the time. Because for
Mhm.
her, I am mommy.
Right.
My older daughter had a different experience. She went to school at my school. So every day at break time and lunchtime, she would come for money.
That sounds like a teacher's child. That sounds like something a teacher's child would do.
Yep.
Okay, so you have to then you would have had to when they were younger, especially try to maintain that balance. Then was that did you see that happening?
It was difficult. It was difficult at times. With my older daughter who was with me on the at the same school, she didn't get a break, and mommy has the highest expectations.
Right.
So her friends would come and complain for her, and initially I didn't realize they were being unfair because nobody was complaining to their mommy.
Oh,
And it took another teacher saying to me, but this isn't fair to her. Give her some space to be a child, to run and play. And eventually, we were able to work the balance out. With the second child, as I said, she went to a different school, so she had all the freedom in the world. But it can be tricky because sometimes the teacher and mommy doesn't turn off.
Right, right. I think I can understand that because you're consistently interacting with students and children every day. That's how you are. That's your frame of mind as a professional. So I can understand, and I think that our audience, those viewing, can be able to understand. That balance there would be a difficult task.
It
So
is.
again, let us please pay attention because one of the aims of this sanctuary half hour is to build that understanding of those sacrifices that each line in our triangle, teacher, parent, and child, our student, all these sacrifices that are having to be made in those regards. So thank you so much for sharing your views, Ingrid. We're going to come back to you a little bit later, but we're going to go on to speaking to the parent to hear Teresa's perspective as a parent. So, Teresa, I have the very same first two questions for you. All right. So, what are some of the things that you do as a parent that other persons might not be aware of the sacrifices that you have to make in this context?
As a parent, time
Okay.
for self would be
Mm,
would be a sacrifice that I make because from work to home, I don't find time for me.
right,
Yeah, because sometimes when you come home, I mean, you go to work and you work, but then when you come home, there's work at home, there's homework from school,
right,
housework,
right.
you know, and there's preparing children for the next day. So it's like for me, time to for myself, time to unwind, time to go out with girlfriends, time to go out, even by myself, time is a sacrifice that and in my life right now, it's like work, home, and church. So I really don't have time for myself. I have a
Mhm.
cousin who says, I'm coming in to take you somewhere so you could, because everything you're talking about is the children and what you do for the
Ah,
children. What are you doing for yourself? You need to find time for yourself, but I can't find the time because sometimes my work takes me from 6 in the morning to 6 in the evening. And when I
right.
come home, there's not much time. And by
Hmm.
the time I lie down to read the Bible or have some time alone with God, I find myself falling asleep sometimes. Yeah. So
Understand.
time is a real sacrifice for me. Yeah. And I sometimes I say, you know what? When I get older and they're gone on their own, then I'll find time for myself. you
Then
know,
you'll find time. Wow.
I know some parents do say that sometimes because you can't leave out the children. You can't say, well, you know what? I come home from work, I cook, okay, I clean, I do nothing, I get dressed and go out. You
Right.
can't. The children are a first priority. Children are first priority. Yeah.
Yes. And it's there's so much passion coming out of what you're saying because as a mother, they're your babies. Even though the boys they're older now, and your other children, they're older, but they're still your babies. You still have that responsibility for them. So I do understand that you have them as your first priority. But I really want to go back to what you said in terms of time for self because before you were a mother, you were Teresa you
Yeah.
know? So how important do you think that is? I know you mentioned that your friends might come and, want to help you to get more of that in for yourself. But how important do you think or it is or it should be then to have that type of balance between being a mother and putting your children as your first priority, but also taking care of yourself?
It is important, yeah, to have time for self. I strongly believe that, but then sometimes with the how life is structured around you,
Mm-hmm.
you you will really have to sacrifice some of what you're doing for your family and for the home to find time for self. Yeah. Even on off days when you will say, well, I want to have time to go to the beach. You end up going to the beach with the family, and you
Mm-hmm.
end up lying on the lying on the beach sand, watching the family, watching the children in the water, where
Right.
I would like to just fall asleep, you know.
Right. Yes.
And but I can't fall asleep because I have to keep an eye on the children in the water. Yeah, and with the boys, I can't go dining by myself. If I say going to oysters, but you can't go oysters
They
without
want
me.
to
So
go.
they want to have that experience. So then I end up going to oysters, and instead of me going to oysters, I end up going to oysters with family. Yeah.
Right, right, right. Oh, wow. And again, we're talking about, if you're not joining, we're talking about those sacrifices that the three lines of our love triangle, teacher, parent, and student, would have to make. And the fact that they are sacrifices of love, let's underscore that. Because it is because a teacher loves their students that they would make such a big sacrifice in all the different ways that they do. It is because a parent, as Teresa right now, is our parent on the panel because a parent loves their children that they will make these sacrifices as well. I do in this moment, don't move yet, Teresa. I do in this moment want to shout out some of the people that are online tuning in, like Janice and Faye, Lana, and Janice is making a joke here when I said before you were mother, you were Teresa. So she says you're Mother Teresa, which is true, which is
Yeah.
very true. So continue to send in your comments, continue to share the live and let people know that we are having this conversation. That's very important for lots of us to be involved in. So Teresa, that sacrifice of self that you have to make on behalf of your children from a place of love again. What then propels you to continue to consistently put in that effort? Because as you said, you go to work, you are mom, and you are also you. So what would you say is your continuing driving force behind consistently putting in that effort to make those sacrifices?
I guess why I do it is because I want to create good childhood memories. Because
Mm,
when I think back on my childhood, fatherless, yeah, and I was raised by my father's mother, so it's motherless also. So there's not much memory of me doing nothing much with my biological parents. So
okay.
I sacrifice a lot so that my children can have good childhood memories. When they get older and they're adults on their own and they have their own children, they could sit with stories about us going to oysters and where somebody put too much pepper on the fish and go to the beach and then I get sunburn, rah 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 bad. So
Mhm,
I believe in creating good childhood memories for children because they're uh, friends of mine and they have horrible childhood memories, abuse. Yeah. So I try. The reason why I there's a passion in me to make sure that my children really enjoy the childhood is that to create those good childhood memories as
mhm,
opposed to getting old and telling people about abusive parents and even abusive teachers because abusive
right.
teachers I'm the parent that would step in and go to the school because be in the teacher's face. I would be
Mhm,
that parent because
understood.
I have to protect what belong my children. So
Mhm,
the driving force behind me is to create good childhood memories. And I I like Janice just said Mother Teresa. I see
yes,
as a mother and anybody who comes in contact with me, I mother,
right,
that's just my God given gift, or that's who God made me to be. Yeah. And I can't see myself neglecting my children to go to go out with friends. I'll have to make sure home is good first. And when I
right.
with friends, I don't have to go on a video call or WhatsApp because I do that to see you what a good you're all right. You're going to sleep at the right time and not staying up late waiting for me. So
Mhm.
yeah, so yeah,
Consistently. And I love what you said about making those childhood memories because it made me think about my childhood and to reflect back on some of those moments that I would have had with my parents too. And I can tell you that is definitely going to pay off and it already is paying off because when we do look back, we remember those things and we see, even as we get older, as we're younger, we might not be fully aware of the whole concept of the sacrifice that our parents are making. But as we grow older, we definitely have those childhood memories, and we can say, with better understanding, you know what? Mommy did a lot for me. Daddy did a lot for me. So kudos to you, Teresa, in doing that. And I'm sure that your children are benefiting, and they will definitely grow in appreciation and understanding of all that you sacrificed for them. So on that note, my last question for you right now, Teresa, is how do the children respond then? Do they show their gratitude? If so, in what kinds of ways?
I I will say that they are grateful because because of what they do to help. Like if I'm at work,
Mhm.
when I come home, sometimes the chores are done. Well, they haven't conquered the cooking yet because
Okay.
it's only the boys home. The older ones have they're on their own, and my oldest son, he's 38. Yes, I have a 38-year-old. Yeah, and he's trying as he gets older. He brings the family together because we do a lot of dining out with him. He likes because he's in the hospitality industry.
Oh,
He will say,
nice.
"Well, mom, there's a new restaurant. I want to take you guys to." So
Right.
you know, so I think they show that appreciation and that gratefulness, and by doing that, that makes me um, feel a sense of like you did something right. Because
Right.
when you're younger and nobody is not experienced enough and everything is berserk because you're young and you don't know what to do, but as
Mhm.
everybody gets older and they show their appreciation by the things that they do now, then you see what you've been doing all along is paying off,
Right.
if you understand where I'm coming from. But then the ones that are still home, which is the boys,
Mhm.
they know well. I like to clean. Yeah, it's the way out. It got to be clean. So let me sweep because she can hold. She is, don't leave the dishes in the sink. So let me do
Right.
something. So when I come home and some of that is done, that will give me time. Even if I
Mhm.
don't go out to have a nice glass of Coke. Yeah. I can have a cup of tea. I can sit down and sip a cup of tea and say, well, that 15, 20 minutes, have a cup of tea, and then
Right.
I could go and do what, I
Wow.
have to do to prepare for the next day. But it's continuous. It's not something that you do today and tomorrow you say you're not doing it. Being a parent has to be an everyday job.
True.
You're
True.
always on duty. Yeah, you're always
Yeah.
on duty. Yeah.
And I'm so glad that you shared the different ways that your older and younger children pour back into you. And I do want to remind us, even all of us that are watching right now, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube, whatever age you are, as long as you still have your parents, this is a reminder for you to show them some appreciation for sure for these sacrifices that you know of and the ones that you don't know of that they would have made for you. And children especially, remember you can find ways to help support your parents too, like maybe sweeping so that they can have that 10 minutes, 15 minutes to do something for themselves. So thank you so much for sharing from the parent's perspective, Teresa. Now we're going to get the child's perspective. So I'm going to invite Anastasia back on. And I have a couple of questions for you, Anastasia. So my first question for you, as a child and as a child of teachers or of a teacher, one thing, the first question, what are some of the extra things you see your mother or father doing as part of their job?
Well, I see them doing lessons on the evening and sometimes in the weekends, and that's basically all I see them.
Okay, all right. So they do work even outside of work, right? That's something that we mentioned earlier. Okay, interesting. So seeing that your parents who are educators, they have extra things to do as well. This ties into our second question for you. Do you feel then that you get, and you feel free to be honest and open, I know your parents are watching and supporting you. Do you feel that you get less of their time?
Well, not really because I normally do my own stuff while they're doing their lessons and work. So I normally just do my homework or just play games or relax while they're doing that. And then when they're done, we spend time together.
Okay, interesting. I love what you said. You raised two really important points that, even while your parents are busy, understanding that they have something extra to do, that you also do things as well. So do you think that that helps you not to feel like you're getting less of their time?
Well, yeah, I guess.
Okay, no problem. And then the second thing is you said that when they're finished, that you spend time together. So do you think that that's really important, seeing that they're very busy? How do you feel about the fact that they make time to spend with you?
I feel like important, I guess, that they make time to spend with me, and I guess.
All right, so it makes you feel important. It makes you feel valuable and that, even though they're very busy, that they still involve you and they make that space as your mom and dad to spend time with. Okay, and I think that that's very, very valuable too, because it reminds us, and those of us who have children, and those of us who are parents that teach that have children, to always make sure that we have time for them, because as you can see, as Anastasia rightfully said, it makes them feel very, very important. Thank you so much for sharing that, Anastasia. At this point, I'm going to invite everybody back on our teacher, Ingrid Armstrong-Worrell, and our parent Teresa, as well as Anastasia. And I'm going to open the floor now for any encouragement from each of our lines in the triangle, teacher, parent, child, that you would give to either it could be a fellow teacher, a fellow parent, or it could be from a teacher to a parent, parent to a teacher, etc. So Ingrid, I'll let you go first.
Do it with love. Whatever you do, however you do it with love. If you need to approach the teacher with love. We need love sometimes too.
We need a lot of love.
So just be loving and always give your all, and God will take care of the rest.
All right, I hope the parents are listening. Teachers need love too. Thank
Yes.
you very much, Ingrid. All right, Anastasia, do you want to say anything else encouraging to maybe other children out there whose parents might be teaching, or maybe another parent, or anything like that?
Oh, I would say to don't stress out your parents and to let them have their own time to do their work so that they can earn money to take care of you.
Okay, I love that. So don't stress out your parents, children, and let them have time for themselves. That's a really valuable point. Thank you so much, Anastasia. Teresa, what about you?
I will echo what Ingrid just said because love conquers everything. And if there wasn't any love in my heart, then I wouldn't make those sacrifices. So, to all parents out there, love your children. Yeah, love them with all your heart. And that's it for me. Love what you do as a parent. Love your children. Love is the essence of everything. If you don't love what you do, then you won't do it. And when you look at your children, you love them. You have no choice. They're your children. Like Ingrid is a teacher, and she does what she does out of love for the students. Yeah, even if you don't know some of the parents, you know the child comes in your class every day, and you do what
Right,
you do out of love. So it
right.
is. We will have to love the children to do it. Yeah.
Yes. So there we have it from all three angles of our love triangle. That the bottom line of the sacrifice, the reason for it is love, and even coming out of that sacrifice, love and support are needed for our teachers, our parents, and our students, for our children who are children of teachers, and generally all students as well. So this has been the Sanctuary Half Hour. We are so grateful that you have joined us for tonight's edition, brought to you by the Life Empowerment Ministry, to help underscore those sacrifices that are made by the teachers, the parents, and the students, and to help to remind us to love and support each other, whichever side of the triangle we fall on. So, As usual, if you have prayer requests, feel free to send us an email. The email address is coming up on your screen right now. Or if you would like to receive salvation, there's an email address you can contact as well. We are so grateful that you have joined us. Share the message of love with someone else. Have a wonderful night. This has been the Sanctuary House.